The gown slips because she is tired. Not careless, just worn thin by the day, by the weight of decisions made in rooms where her name is spoken carefully, as though it might break something if said too plainly. She feels the loosened clasp before she sees it. A quiet pull at her shoulder. Fabric shifting where it should not. She stops in the doorway. The Duke is behind her, close enough that she can feel the warmth of him before she hears his breath. Neither of them speaks. The corridor outside his study is narrow, stone walls close on either side, torchlight flickering along iron brackets. The hour is late enough that the keep has thinned into echoes, footsteps distant, voices muted, the world pulled inward. She reaches up instinctively, fingers brushing the edge of her gown where it has slipped. The Duke does not move. That is what makes it worse. If he had turned away, if he had cleared his throat or stepped back, she could have laughed it off, adjusted the clasp, pretended nothing had happened. But he doesn't. He stays exactly where he is. And she knows, with sudden clarity, that this time, he sees. Not as a symbol, not as a problem, as a woman standing half-turned in a doorway, her composure momentarily undone. "I can fix it," she says quietly. Her voice is steady. "That matters." "Yes," he replies. He does not step closer. He does not step away. He waits. The pause stretches. Torchlight flutters across stone and skin and fabric. Her fingers fumble at the clasp again, less certain now, the angle wrong. She exhales slowly, frustration creeping in. "It's caught," she says. The Duke's voice is low, controlled. "Do you want assistance?" The question lands carefully, not presumptive, not innocent either. She closes her eyes for half a breath. If she says no, this moment ends. The tension dissolves into courtesy. The city remains exactly as it was, balanced on implication and restraint. If she says yes, she opens her eyes and looks at him over her shoulder. "Yes," she says. He moves then, not quickly. One step forward, boots quiet against stone. He does not touch her immediately. Instead, he raises his hand slightly, stopping just short of her shoulder, giving her time to reconsider. She does not. "Tell me if you want me to stop," he says. "I will." His fingers brush the fabric at her shoulder, warm, deliberate, impossibly precise. He does not rush. He does not tug. He studies the clasp first, as if it were a matter of importance rather than intimacy. She feels the heat of him at her back now, close enough that the space between them feels charged. "You've been carrying too much today," he says quietly. She almost laughs. "You noticed?" "Yes." The clasp gives way with a soft sound. The gown slips just a fraction lower, not revealing, but undeniably changed. The line of her shoulder is bare now, skin cooling in the corridor air. She inhales sharply despite herself. The Duke's hand does not follow the fabric. It hovers, waiting. She turns slowly to face him. They are close now, too close for pretense. His expression is unreadable, not hungry, not restrained, but focused in a way that makes her pulse quicken. "This," she says, gesturing faintly between them, "is new." "No," he replies. "It's delayed." She studies his face, the lines of command there, the discipline he has never let slip in public. "You've always looked away before," she says. "Yes. And now." He meets her gaze evenly. "Now the city has already seen enough," he says. "And I'm done pretending I don't." The words settle between them. Dangerous. Honest. She should step back. She doesn't. Instead, she reaches up, not to fix the gown, but to rest her fingers lightly against his chest, just below the collar of his tunic. The contact is brief, intentional. His breath changes. "This doesn't end quietly," she says. "No," he agrees. "And it won't stay private." "No." She searches his face for hesitation. Finds none. "They'll say this proves them right," she continues. "That I was always a distraction." His hand lifts, slowly, coming to rest at her waist. Not gripping, not claiming, anchoring. "They were wrong about the cause," he says. "Not the desire." Her pulse stutters. "You don't deny it," she murmurs. "No." The simplicity of the answer sends a shiver through her that has nothing to do with the cold stone walls. Outside the corridor, a door closes somewhere in the keep. Footsteps pass at a distance. The world continues, indifferent to the moment balanced on its edge. "This could undo everything," she says. "It could," he agrees. "And you're still standing here." "Yes." She tilts her head slightly, studying him. "You could stop," she says. I could. And you won't. No. The gown slips another inch as she exhales, the fabric looser now, the moment unmistakably altered. The Duke's gaze flickers, not away, but down, acknowledging the change without apology. His thumb presses lightly into the small of her back. The touch is brief. Controlled. Enough. That's as far as this goes tonight, he says quietly. She blinks. Is it? Yes. Why? Because if I don't stop now, he replies, I'll take something the city already wants to punish you for. The restraint in his voice is not reluctance. It's respect. She swallows. That's infuriating, she says. His mouth curves faintly. I know. He releases her, stepping back just enough to restore space. Real space, not the charged absence of it. She adjusts the gown herself this time, hands steadier, breath slower. The clasp is no longer caught. But something else is. When she looks up, he is still watching her. Openly now. No apology in his eyes. No more looking away, she says. No, he agrees. And no pretending this didn't happen. No. She nods once, decisive. Good. She moves past him then, through the doorway into the study. Not fleeing, not lingering. Just enough to prove that this moment has not undone her. As she reaches the threshold, she pauses. Next time, she says without turning, don't ask if I want assistance. He exhales softly. I won't. The door closes behind her, not slammed, not rushed. Just closed. And for the first time, the city's accusation doesn't feel like a threat. It feels like a line already crossed. The city feels it before it understands it. By morning, nothing has been said aloud, but everything has shifted. She notices it first in the way the servants pause a half-second too long when she passes. In the way a guard straightens as if bracing for inspection, then relaxes too slowly. In the way conversation thins rather than stops. Not scandal. Recognition. She keeps her pace steady as she crosses the inner courtyard, cloak fastened neatly, gown properly secured. Nothing about her appearance betrays the moment in the corridor the night before. But something in the air does. When she enters the administrative wing, the murmur dips. She takes her seat at the long table, unrolls her documents, and begins as she always does. Competently. The Duke arrives moments later. He does not look at her immediately. That is deliberate. He takes his seat, acknowledges the assembled officials, and signals for proceedings to begin. His voice is even. His posture unchanged. If anyone expected hesitation or distance, they do not get it. She feels the tension anyway. Because this time, when his gaze does find her, he does not look away. Not quickly, not carefully, just long enough to remind her of the warmth of his hand at her waist. Of the moment he chose to see her rather than retreat into propriety. The meeting proceeds. Reports are given. Decisions made. She speaks when required. Her voice steady, her mind sharp. She does not falter. But midway through, Counselor Bram clears his throat. My lord, he says too casually. There is a concern regarding appearances. The word lands like a stone in water. The Duke does not react immediately. Go on. Last night, Bram continues. There were observations. She keeps her eyes on the parchment before her. Of what nature? The Duke asks. Of proximity, Bram replies. Unnecessary intimacy. The room tightens. This is earlier than she expected. The Duke leans back slightly in his chair. Define unnecessary, he says. Bram hesitates. It risks perception. There it is again. Perception. The Duke's gaze shifts to her, not seeking permission, but acknowledging presence. Speak plainly, he says to Bram. Or don't speak at all. Bram swallows. There are those who believe boundaries have blurred. Silence stretches. She does not interrupt. She lets the Duke decide how this is handled. He does not disappoint. Boundaries exist to prevent misuse of power, the Duke says calmly. Not to police mutual regard. A ripple moves through the table. And last I checked, he continues, no policy has been compromised. Bram opens his mouth. The Duke raises a hand. If the concern is that I am human, he says evenly, you may rest assured. I was human before last night. A few sharp inhales. The meeting ends shortly thereafter. Not abruptly, but decisively. When they rise, the tension follows her like a shadow. She feels it as she gathers her papers, as she moves through the corridor afterward. She does not look back. She does not need to. He finds her later in the map room. Not a study, not a private chamber. A place of work. You anticipated that, he says quietly as he closes the door behind him. Yes. And you let it come. Yes. He approaches the table where she stands, hands braced on the edge. They moved faster than expected, he says. They always do when they think desire is leverage, she replies. His gaze darkens slightly. They will try to use it. They already are. He stops across from her, close enough that she feels the familiar pull again. But this time it is not sudden. It is controlled, measured. They'll demand distance, she says. They'll say it's for my protection. And they'll imply it's for my credibility, he adds. She nods. They'll want one of us to step back. And neither of us will. She meets his gaze. No. The silence between them is heavy now, not with uncertainty, but with recognition. Last night, he says quietly, should not have happened the way it did. She raises an eyebrow. Which part? The restraint. She almost smiles. And yet, she says, you stopped. Yes. And today, she continues, you didn't retreat. No. She steps closer. Close enough that the table edge presses into the backs of her knees. They're going to force a moment, she says. A choice. Yes. And when they do, she adds, we won't get another chance to define what this is. He studies her face, searching not for permission, but alignment. This doesn't become hidden, he says. No. And it doesn't become indulgent. No. It becomes deliberate. She nods once. Good. The next test arrives by afternoon. A formal invitation, thinly veiled as an obligation, for her to attend a reception alone. A gathering of allies and undecided figures, designed to display her independence. Distance, wrapped as courtesy. She reads the invitation twice, then hands it to the Duke. They want to see if I'll appear without you, she says. And if you do, he replies, they'll claim separation. And if I don't, she adds, they'll claim dominance. He considers for a moment. Then we do neither, he says. She tilts her head, meaning, we arrive together, he says. And we don't perform. The reception is held in the Western Hall, banners draped, music carefully chosen. The air hums with conversation when they enter, together, unannounced. The reaction is immediate, not outrage, interest. She feels eyes track them as they move through the room. His hand rests lightly at her back, not possessive, not hidden, intentional. Conversations pause, then resume. She feels the heat of his proximity again, but here, under chandeliers and watchful glances, it carries weight. They speak with guests together. Separately. They do not cling. They do not retreat. But they do not pretend either. At one point, a noblewoman approaches her with a knowing smile. You look very settled, she remarks. She returns the smile evenly. I am. Later, a merchant corners the Duke, voice low. Careful, he murmurs. Desire clouds judgment. The Duke's reply is quiet, but sharp, only when it's denied. By the time they leave, the room is buzzing, not with scandal, but with recalibration. As they step back into the cool night air, she exhales slowly. They didn't get what they wanted, she says. No, he agrees. And they didn't get what they feared. She stops walking, turns to him beneath the torchlight. But we did, she says. His gaze drops briefly, to the line of her collar, to the place where the gown had slipped the night before, then returns to her eyes. Yes, he says. We did. The moment stretches. No one is watching now. The keep is quiet. This time, she says softly, don't stop because of them. His hand lifts, slowly, coming to rest at her waist again. Not gripping, not tentative, grounded. This time, he replies, I won't stop at all. She swallows, not in fear, but in anticipation. They do not kiss. Not yet. But the space between them closes in a way that makes the next step inevitable. The city has noticed. The lines have blurred. And restraint, once chosen, is becoming something else entirely. The night does not let them pretend. They do not return to separate wings of the keep. They do not invent reasons to delay or excuse what has already been acknowledged by the council, by the city, by themselves. They walk together through the quiet corridors, torches burning low, footsteps echoing softly against stone. This time, there is no doorway accident, no slipping clasp, no plausible deniability. The Duke stops outside his study and turns to her fully. This is where people expect restraint, he says quietly. She studies him, the flicker of torchlight tracing the familiar planes of his face. The authority they're now threaded unmistakably with want. And if we don't give it to them, she asks. Then they'll stop mistaking it for weakness, he replies. She nods once. Good. He opens the door, not ushering her in, not gesturing her forward. He waits. The choice is hers. She steps inside. The door closes behind them with a soft, decisive sound. The study is dim, lit only by a few low lamps and the dying embers in the hearth. Shadows stretch long across shelves and maps and the wide desk where so many decisions have been made with calm hands and sharper minds. She stands near the center of the room, cloak still fastened, gown proper, composed to the last thread. He does not touch her immediately. That restraint, she has learned, is part of what makes him dangerous. They're watching, she says quietly. Yes. And tomorrow, they'll talk. Yes. And after tonight, she continues, they'll stop wondering. He takes one step closer. They already know, he says. They just want us to deny it for them. She tilts her head slightly. And you're done denying. Yes. Another step. Close enough now that she feels the heat of him, steady and controlled, radiating outward. You said you wouldn't stop, she reminds him. I won't, he replies. But I will be certain. Of what? That you want this, he says. Not because they pushed. Not because the city demands proof. She meets his gaze without hesitation. I want this, she says. Because pretending otherwise has become more dangerous than the truth. That is enough. His hand lifts, slowly, deliberately, to her cloak. He does not pull it away. He loosens the clasp first, giving her time, space, the option to stop him. She does not. The cloak slides from her shoulders, pooling softly at her feet. The act is simple. The effect is not. He exhales, a quiet sound that barely escapes him. You're steady, he murmurs. So are you. His fingers brush her shoulder again, this time not as an accident, not as assistance. As intention. He turns her slightly, not forcing, not rushing, until her back faces the desk. He does not press her against it. Not yet. His hand comes to rest at her waist, familiar now, grounding. The other lifts, fingers tracing the line of her collarbone, stopping just short of where the gown dips. He does not touch skin he has not been given. You can stop me, he says softly. She raises her hands, not to push him away, but to rest them on his chest, feeling the steady beat beneath his tunic. I won't, she says. The space between them closes, not in a rush, not in hunger, but in a slow alignment that feels inevitable rather than urgent. Their foreheads touch briefly. Breath mingles. The city falls away. He leans in, stopping just short of her lips. The pause stretches, taut, electric. Say it, he murmurs. Say what? That this isn't escape, he says. That this isn't reaction. She lifts her chin slightly. This is choice, she says. He kisses her then. Not fiercely, not gently either. The kiss is deliberate, measured pressure, a slow claiming of space, his hand tightening at her waist as she leans fully into him. Her fingers curl into his tunic, pulling him closer. The world narrows to breath and heat, and the steady grounding of his presence. When he pulls back, it is not to end it. It is to look at her. Really look. No more looking away, she says quietly. Never again, he replies. He turns her this time, guiding her back until she feels the edge of the desk against her legs. His hands slide to her hips, thumbs pressing lightly through fabric, anchoring her there. Not trapping, claiming space. This, she says softly, will make things worse. Yes. And harder. Yes. And impossible to undo. He leans in, voice low, steady. I don't intend to undo it. His hand rises again, to the edge of her gown this time. He does not undress her fully. He does not rush. He loosens what is already loose, allows the fabric to slip just enough to acknowledge what they are no longer pretending. Her breath catches, not from exposure, but from the intimacy of being seen and not turned away from. This is how they win, she says faintly. No, he replies. This is how they lose control. His lips trace a slow line along her jaw, her neck, not possessive, not hurried. When he pulls back again, her hands are still gripping him, grounding him, keeping him honest. We don't hide this, she says. No. And we don't soften it. No. And tomorrow, she adds, when they ask if you've compromised your authority, I'll tell them the truth, he says. That you chose me. That I chose alignment, he corrects. With someone who sees the city clearly. She studies him, searching for doubt. Finds none. You'll change things, she says. Yes. And you'll make enemies. Yes. And you'll lose the option of peace. He rests his forehead against hers again. I've redefined it, he says. They do not spend the night in frantic passion. That would cheapen it. Instead, they move together with intention, unhurried, deliberate, letting each moment settle rather than rush past it. When dawn approaches, pale light creeping through the high windows, she stands beside him at the desk where maps still lie open. The city waits beyond the walls. They'll know, she says. Yes. And they'll talk. Yes. She turns to face him. Good. He smiles then, not the faint curve of restraint, but something deeper. They called you a distraction, he says. She lifts an eyebrow. They were wrong. They were wrong about what mattered, he corrects. They saw desire and mistook it for weakness. And you? I saw clarity, he says. And chose it. The bells begin to ring. Morning, not alarm. The city wakes. This time, when she leaves his study, she does not slip quietly into shadow. She walks the corridors openly. When servants see her, they do not look away. When guards straighten, it is not with tension, but with recognition. By midday, the whispers have become something else. Not scandal. Acknowledgement. She stands beside him later on the ramparts, the city spread out before them. They'll never stop talking, she says. No, he agrees. But they'll stop deciding for us. She reaches for his hand. Not hidden, not subtle. Public. Chosen. He takes it. This was never about a gown slipping at a door. It was about what happens when someone finally refuses to look away and chooses, fully, to be seen.